Okay, well, welcome to our seminar on how to increase sales. Woo! Isn't that exciting? How to increase sales. This is the seminar that everyone's been waiting for. Finally, everyone's going to learn how to sell houses now. Isn't that exciting?
Absolutely.
Woo! Well, guess what? I can't show you how to sell houses. You know why? Because houses sell houses. Real estate agents do not. Real estate agents, in some cases, screw up deals. What we're going to teach you to do is how to screw up fewer. And if you screw up fewer, you'll close what? More. And you'll have more money and you'll have more success in this real estate business. Okay? So the bottom line is, here's the good news. The good news is I'm going to be able to help you sell more homes in less time by showing fewer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
By showing fewer, you can sell more homes in less time, right?
Yeah.
So, the bad news is I can never teach you how to sell a house because houses sell houses. People do not sell houses. I hope you internalize that dialogue because you may want to use this 100 times a week as you're talking to sellers and even buyers for that matter. Okay? It makes a big difference. Now,
People don't sell houses, houses sell houses.
exactly. Yep. I don't sell houses. The house sells itself. You know, it's interesting. Sellers will often say to you, well, listen, I need you to sell my house. And you say, okay, I'm trying. See, when you say that, you're automatically putting all the responsibility on you. But if you tell them, look, I don't sell houses. Your house has to sell itself. Have you had it staged? Did you get rid of the clutter in the garage like I told you? Did you price it right? Last time I had an open house, you didn't clean up like I had suggested, right? Houses sell houses. So you have to put that responsibility and sometimes that blame off of you and onto someone else. Not someone else, but something else. And what is that? The house. And who has control of the house most of the time? The who?
The seller.
The seller, absolutely. Okay. So, today I'm going to share with you today, there are 3 parts that I'm going to condense into one session. So I'm going to include session 1, 2, and 3 on how to increase sales, all in one session. There are magic in what?
Three.
Magic in 3s.
Experience.
In each segment, there are going to be 3 keys within the 3 sections, okay? So again, gang, there's magic in what? 3s. You got it. Now, I believe that there's magic in 3 so much that I made a short list before the seminar today of just to prove to you that there are magic in 3s. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to challenge you to add to this list. And I'm going to actually write it down. If you can come up with something that I can add to this list, I will, of course, do that. Okay, you ready? There are 3 coins in a fountain. 3 blind mice. 3 musketeers. 3 wise men.
Women.
3 little... Well, no, you didn't understand it. There's only 3 wise men in the world. The rest of the wise people are women. That's right.
Very good.
Many wise women.
None of which are standing in front of you, but that's okay.
That was quick.
Well, you know, that's reaction, dialogue. You got to be... It's being in real estate this long. You just have to be quick.
That's good.
And you have to know your place, too, right? 3 little pigs, right? 3 holes in a pair of pants. I came up with that one on my own. Think about it. You just the top and the 2 bottoms, right? Okay, yeah, all right, good.
What did you say? What is it? 3 holes in a only
Okay. Yep.
3 holes in a pair of pants.
Yeah.
The top and then the legs.
There are 3.
It's getting deep.
Sorry.
It's getting deep.
I'm stretching. Am I stretching?
Yeah.
If I'm stretching, then that would be spandex. I didn't say spandex.
Oh,
3 lights on a traffic light. There are 3 sides to a triangle. 3 points on a triangle. There are 3 beats in a waltz. Goldilocks and the what?
3
3
bears.
bears. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. My 3
Sons.
Right. You younger people are like, what?
Well, I didn't recognize the theme, John.
That's all right. You might not have watched it enough. 3's
Company.
company. Whoa, all right, very good.
Three's a crowd.
Two's
Three's a
company,
crowd, right, I see
two's
that.
company, three's a crowd. Well, that was the very next one of my incredibly
Reading your
long
mind
list
now, this
of
is
threes.
scary.
Getting too long.
Third time's a
Charm.
charm. Phony is a $3 bill. If it has 3 leaves and 3 points, it's
Poison ivy.
poison ivy. Very good.
I know.
There are 3 hands on a clock. When you talk about automobiles, they're usually a 3-year, 36,000-mile
Oh, geez.
warranty.
The big three.
3 strikes and you're
Out.
out, right?
The big three.
There are 3 outs. There are 3 outs in a half an inning. 3/3 make 1 hole. 3 goals make a hat trick. There are 3 woods in a golf bag. Kenny Rogers, you're once, twice, 3 times a lady, right? How about this? 3-way calling. Music, again, 3-dog night. Food, 3-bean salad. 3-part harmony. 3 felonies equals life in prison.
Oh, jeez.
There are 3 moons for the planet Jupiter. How about this? Barnum and Bailey's 3-ring circus. Wow, you guys are good, right? 3-ring binder, 3-hole punch. Remember, folks, professionals close at least 3 times. Okay? So, are there any other magics in 3s? Are there any other things you can think of in 3?
Got the Holy Trinity.
Sell it for 300.
Holy Trinity, right?
400.
The big one.
All right, well, email them to me. I'll let you know. And you pass this
It's
out.
not precious.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to increase sales.
Angela.
And again, gang, there's magic in
Raise.
threes. You got it. You know, I brought up something last week or the week before. I don't remember which one it was, but I talked about closing. At least how many times? At least 3 times, because there's magic in 3s. When you close 3 times, it's not closing too much to the point where you're a pain in the neck. But if you close once or twice, do you know that the top 1% of all successful salespeople close more than once? And the top 0.5% close more than twice to get the order. And that's true in any sales business, not just real estate. You follow me? So always close a minimum of 3 times. And I made that big long list of all the 3s just to kind of help you internalize that a little more. There's magic in 3s. Okay, how to increase sales. Number 5 on the top countdown, on the top 5 questions. This is part 1 of 3 parts. The key to staying in control when working with buyers is A, show them everything they want to see. B, there is no way to stay in control with buyers. Some of you are smiling about that one. Or C, take things one step at a time and stay on. You got it. C, stay on track. Number 4, the first step to effectively work with buyers is A, qualify them on the phone. B, get them into the office. Or C, meet them at the house they called about.
A.
How many were here last week?
Get them into the office. Come into my office.
What's your goal?
Quality.
Get them in the office.
Get them into the office, right? Number 3, at an initial meeting with the buyers, right?
It's on the floor.
At the initial meeting with the buyers, show them how to work one step at a time. B, cover your agency disclosures. C, ask for their loyalty. Or D, all of the above.
D.
Oh, you guys are good today. You're on fire.
It's
Mike
from
Perry.
him.
Yeah,
Mike
right.
Perry did it.
The key to selling more houses with fewer showings is to A, narrow down the selection to just a few houses, or B, widen the selection to increase your options.
A.
That is incorrect.
Oh.
The answer is B,
Oh.
and I will show you why in just a few moments.
Wow.
I always throw
Right.
a hook in there. I know. Trust me, I'll back it up. Don't worry, I'll get to it.
Yeah, no.
I'll get to it. Number 1, they almost never buy. Listen, I'm here to shock you, right? Am I doing a good job so far? Right? They almost never buy A, the first house that you show them. B, what they tell you they're looking for. Or C, until you become their friend.
B.
B.
See?
B. The B's have it. That is correct.
It's big.
What they tell you they're looking for.
They never buy what they tell you they're looking for.
No, you can change, he said.
They
Yeah.
show them colonial, and then they say, I saw a ranch over there, and they want to buy
Yes.
something. Right.
Sometimes they don't know what they
They
want.
don't know.
That's true, yeah. They don't know what they want. We talked about that last week. We had fun last week too, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was a good session. Okay. Hey gang, how many rules do you have on your page there, the next page?
3.
3? That's a shock. I can't believe it. Is it really 3? Okay, good. You know, we talked about this before. We talked about work with people one step at a time and stay on track. Right, gang? Remember that? Okay. So, remember this? Let's say this is the track, right? What do you think that stands for in the buying process? Write this down if you would.
Closing is the secret.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. Do this. Write this down for number 1. Work with people one step at a time or not at all. Work with people one step at a time or not at all. Work with people one step at a time or not at all. This is intense. Here's what this stands for. In the buying process, remember we talked about the listing process, right? Well, now we're talking about the buying process. The buying process is you build rapport, you qualify, and you show them homes, and then you close.
Qualifies, oh, it is a Q. I thought that was.
What was a C before?
What was after qualify?
Show them homes, and then close.
Make it sound easy.
It is
Yeah.
easy. Okay, so everyone repeat this after me. What is
Build rapport,
qualify,
qualify, show
homes,
homes,
close? One more time. You ready?
rapport, qualify,
show homes, close. Right?
Thank
So
you.
that's the process. That's the way you walk through it, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Stay on track or don't work with them at all. Some people say to me, John, I've already shown them, 10, 20 homes. I can't get control of these people now. Here's what I have to tell you. It's probably too late. It's probably too late. You probably have lost them. You've lost control. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do to help you on that one. Because if you don't take control in the beginning and you lose it, well, it's really hard to teach an old dog what? Tricks. You may have some old buyers, and it might be hard to teach them some new tricks. So, I don't know what to tell you. But let me share this with you. From here on out, when you work with a buyer, you build rapport, you qualify, you show and sell, and you close, right? So now, it's true that all of you build rapport, you show and sell homes, you qualify, and then you close, right? No. I reversed it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, you're saying that now. But here's what happens in reality. You get a phone call. Ring, ring. Hi, I want to see that house. And what does the agent do? They immediately go out and three them. Right? They three that buyer right away. They go out and show them a house right away. Right? Sure, you say that now in class. But what happens really out there in the field? What are most agents doing? What are you doing? Be honest, right? You build rapport with them on the phone. They want to see the house. You run out and go and show them the property. And you skip this step. Out of control. How to be more in control? Stay on track. Work with them one step at a time or not at all. In other words, if they don't want to follow this process, don't work with them at all. And I'll say what I said last week because I know what you're thinking, but John, I might lose some, and I say, what do I say?
Let them go.
Yeah, let them go. You're going to lose the same amount of buyers that you're losing now.
Quicker.
Only this way you lose them quicker, right? Remember, gang? Remember we talked about that? Okay. So, we build rapport, you qualify, show them homes, and then you close. Now, rule number 2 is safe island every buyer. And safe island them at the start. Safe island, of course, is telling them what you're going to do before you do it. And the dialogue that I put there that I so nicely actually wrote out for you, so you didn't have to get any cramps with your writing today, is I wrote this out. If Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if I have to show you any more than 3 or 4 homes, then I'm probably not doing my job properly. And I'm taking a chance of wasting whose time?
Your turn.
Exactly, your time. So to help you find the right home at the right price in the shortest amount of time, we've created a process. It's very similar to what I taught you with the listing. Remember in listing I said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let me show you how I work. I don't want to take a listing just for the sake of taking the listing, because that would only frustrate you and waste your time and cause you to make less money on the sale of your property. So what I want to do is I don't want to just list your home, I want to sell it. So in order to get your home sold, we've created a process. Can I share it with you now? So the same thing is true with a buyer. And so what I'd like you to do is turn to the person next to you and just read that dialogue real quick. And actually, both people read it to each other at the same time. So it's going to sound very confusing. But I'd just like you all to read it. In fact, you know what? Hold on one second. I got a different idea. I think it'll be a little better. Why don't we read it all together real quick, and let me take the lead and just kind of read it out loud along with me, because there's something, about a workshop that's different than a lecture or seminar. If you actually, hear something, you'll retain it. But if you hear it and do it, you'll retain it even more. Okay? So, let's start with the dialogue. Ready? Go. If I show you more than 3 to 4 homes, I'm not doing my job properly, and I'm taking a chance of wasting your time. So to help you find the right home at the right price in the shortest amount of time, we have created a process. Okay, great. And I hope those of you that are watching this DVD and those of you that are watching the DVD in the other room right now, I hope you're all following along, right? Hello? Okay, good. All right, so then we've created this process. How many steps in the process?
4.
Shouldn't there be 3?
Yeah.
Oh, what a bummer. Just ruined everything now that there are 4. We have the number 4 peeking its head around the corner. But number 1, ask 7 questions. I know they're not 3. I wish there were 3 questions, but there have to be 7. Ask 7 questions. Number 2, I'm just going to ask you to write these down, and then I'll go through the 4 and explain them. Number 2, what I'd like you to write down, look at all homes in MLS. Look at all homes in MLS. Some of you are thinking, John, gas is creeping up to $4 a gallon. I have to show all the homes in MLS?
Look at them on the computer.
Oh, look at them on the computer. Oh, very good. Okay, now you're on track. And then in parentheses, put down narrow to 3 to 5. Narrow to 3 to 5. So the dialogue would kind of go like this. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, part of the 4-step process is, number 1, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Number 2, we're going to look at all the homes in the multiple listing service. Not physically, but we're actually going to sort through them on the computer system that we have right here in my office in the multiple listing service. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take all the homes in the multiple listing service and we're going to narrow it down to the best 3 to 5 homes that match your criteria. Okay? Then we're going to go back to the office and go over the details. So write that down, please. Number 3 is go back to the office and go over the details.
I thought we were already at the office.
No, that's
But we've left.
Doing the MLS.
no, I'm sorry.
Show
We've
them.
narrowed them down to 3 to 5. I left out the part. We're going to go see those 3 to 5.
Okay, you did leave that.
Yes, I did leave that. I apologize.
Okay,
That's
So-
number 2?
yeah.
Yeah, the extension of number 2 is look at all the homes in MLS, narrow down to 3 to 5, see those 3 to 5 homes, and then we're going to come back to the office to go over the details. Number 4, gang, you ready for number 4? Real simple. I'm going to handle the sale from beginning to end. I'm going to handle the sale from beginning to end. Okay. By a show of you saying, oh yeah, who's ready for number 3?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, number 3 is widen the search, do not narrow it. Widen the search, do not narrow it.
Oh, they'll love that.
But John, you just said pick 3 to 5. What do you mean? Here's what I mean. You ready for this, gang? Watch. This is a buyer. You ask them what it is that they're looking for in a home. And they say, John, I want a 4-bedroom house. And you have all these homes to look at that are 4-bedroom homes that come up in the MLS search criteria. And then they say, but we want brick. Okay, so we have fewer homes to look at. We want white brick. Oh, okay, no problem. We want a corner fireplace. Oh, okay. We want 2.5 baths. Oh, okay. We want a 3-car garage. Oh, okay. We want a corner. We want a built-in pool. Oh, no problem. We want air conditioning. Oh, okay. That's all right. We'll put that in there as well. We want oil heat. Okay. Gang,
Who would want that?
gang, listen. Where does this house exist?
Doesn't
In their
mind.
mind.
Yeah.
Nowhere, right? So they give you all this criteria. They give you all these things that they're looking for in their perfect dream home. And what you have to do is you have to take away some of these layers to widen the search to get the 3 to 5 homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of the time, not most of the time, maybe half the time, you have buyers that say, well, I want to look in 17 different towns. And then, of course, you need to narrow the search. But sometimes when you start getting into the conversation with them of what they're looking for exactly, you're faced with having to narrow the search down. Who's going to spend their life looking for this home for the buyers? Yeah. Not you, right? The low-producing agent spends their time looking for this home. In fact, something we talked a little bit about last week, and I'll bring it up again, is that the low-producing agent builds rapport, qualifies, and then what they do is they select homes for the buyer, and then they go out and show those homes to the buyer. So what happens is they go out and they'll show 3 to 5 homes, and because it didn't meet the criteria properly, because they didn't properly qualify them, they'll go out and select 3 to 5 more homes, and then 3 to 5 more homes. And so it just keeps, the number of homes you're showing keeps growing and growing and growing. And I love that dialogue, gang. You know, if I have to show you any more than 3 or 4 homes, I'm probably not doing my job right. See, you're setting the expectation. You're telling them what's normal. And when you tell them up front what's normal, they expect it. You see, because if you don't tell them that that's normal, their friends are going to say this, oh, I worked with my realtor. She was the best realtor anyone could ever ask for. Or really, why is that? She showed us 52 homes before we bought one. Great realtor.
And she's away in Hawaii vacationing
No,
because she's
not.
exhausted.
No, she's not. She's actually at Walmart handing out little smiley faces. She
Having
went,
fries with hamburger.
yeah, she has a job now that includes any fries with that,
Right.
because she failed out of the real estate business because she didn't make enough money per hour, and that's the sad part about it, is that it just spent too much time, and you get so burnt out that there's no profitability at the end. Okay, gang? And you're not helping the buyers. That agent, I would argue, not even argue, I would absolutely, I'm convinced, so I won't even argue it, I'll just say it right out as a fact, wasted the buyer's time. Didn't do the buyer any service, didn't help the buyer in any way whatsoever, wasted the buyer's time, okay? So, next page. Now, without turning back to the other page, this is so unfair, and you can if you want to, but let's go through the 3 rules we just went through as a quick recap. Number 1 is work with people
One step at a time, not at all.
one step at a time, or what? Or not at all, right. Number 2, what should you do with every buyer?
Qualified.
No, this.
Oh, bring it to the safe file.
Say file to every buyer.
John?
In the dialogue, if I show you any more than 3 to 5 homes, I'm probably not doing my job properly, and I'm taking a chance of wasting your time. So to help you out to find the right home at the right price in the shortest amount of time, we've created a process, right? That's the dialogue. And then you explain to them the 4-step process, and you use the Safe Island dialogue that I gave you, right? 4-step process is you ask how many questions?
7.
You look at all the homes in the multiple listing service, and you narrow it down to how many?
5.
And then what do? You go out and
See
you
those.
go out and 3 them, right?
Yeah.
Right, you show them. and then you go where?
Back to the office.
Back to the office to do what?
Or the details.
What does that mean to you and I? Go over the details.
I have no idea.
Put an
But
offer.
you'd like to just-
Hey,
they
Andre,
like.
got it. All right. That to you and I, that means writing an offer.
Yeah.
But to them, we're just going to use the terms, go over the details. You see, too many agents are using the wrong words. They might follow the right track, but they're saying things horrible, like, we're going to go back to my office, and we're going to sit down in a room, and I'm going to close the door, and I'm not going to offer you anything to drink so that you're heavily dehydrated and a little disoriented. And then after that, I'm going to pull out contracts with a lot of legal writing on them, and say in big letters, you must see your attorney before you sign. And then I'm going to ask you to sign these things. All these horrible words, okay? We're just going to go over the details, right? Don't make a big deal out of it. We're just going to go over the details. Number 3, the third rule is what? What do we do with the search, Ken?
Why search?
Widen it. Don't what?
Don't narrow it.
Yeah, because here's what happens. That when you narrow down the search with them, that house doesn't exist. And who spends the rest of their life trying to look for that house? You do. Oh, here's what I hear agents saying. Well, I'll put your criteria, your white brick, north of, south of, east of, corner fireplace, air conditioning, right? All that information. And I'm going to put it in the computer system, and when that right house pops up, it's going to be emailed to you immediately, and then you're going to call me and make an appointment to go see it, and I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to buy it. Does that work? No. It hasn't worked yet, everybody tells me. I've tried that. It hasn't worked yet, right? Work with them one step at a time, or don't work with them at all. So too many of you are giving buyers an option. Just a second. Too many people are giving the buyers an option. You're saying, well, I can put you on my computer multiple listing service retrieval system, and you can get all these listings, or you can come into the office. See, you're not staying on track. You're not working with them one step at a time. You're giving them options that they don't need. You're giving them options that actually are a huge disservice to them. I know it's happened at least once, but I mean, very rarely does anyone buy a house without actually looking at it, right? For the majority, unless it's an investor who's out of state and it's a slam dunk, right? But the majority of people that are working with you, that you're coming in contact with, that are inquiring to you about a property, you can't give them the option. Because what you're doing is you're doing this. You're giving them an option to fail. And as normal human beings, when human beings are given an option to fail, they often do. Okay? When you take away that option to fail, they often what? Succeed. And a buyer, to succeed as a buyer, has to do what? Buy a house. You got it, right? So if you want to be responsible for more successful buyers, stay on track, work with them what? One step at a time, or not at all. You got it. Yes, Art.
So when we go back and go over the details and make an offer, great. But if we don't, then we widen our search. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Arthur brings up a good point. What if you look at the 3 to 5 homes, is what I think you're saying to me, and what if they hate all 3 to 5 of them, right? Well, what do we have to do? We have to widen our search again, don't we? Well, maybe we need to increase the price that we're looking in. Maybe we need to change the town if you're not willing to go without certain amenities. And then you have to go back out and start the process over again. The good news is at least you have a process to follow. But prior to today, you might not have had that, or you might have just, not narrowed it down and go to 3 to 5. Given that safe island buyer dialogue is so huge, because what happens is after they don't buy 3 to 5 homes, here's what the buyer says to the agent. How would you love to hear this? Sean, we're really sorry. We didn't like any of those 3 to 5 homes. I guess we're not normal, Because Sean explained to them what was normal. It's normal. I mean, we picked out the best 3 to 5 homes. If they say to Sean, look, we like house number 4, but I think we want to keep looking. And Sean has to look them right in the eye and say, well, respectfully, I have to tell you that if we look at any more homes other than these 3 to 5 homes that we saw, they're only going to go beyond and not be in the criteria of what you're looking for. Are you saying you want to change your criteria? Or is it that you're not comfortable yet with the process? And are you a little bit afraid? Be honest with me. Are you a little bit nervous? Are you a little nervous? That's normal. Be honest with me. Are you a little nervous? Yeah. And if they say, they finally will admit, yeah, we're a little nervous, we like house number 4, but we just want to make sure it's the right house. Well, we did make sure it's the right house because we've seen every house on the market, not physically, but through the process of elimination. And so, would it help you if we just go back and go over the details and after, now feel this, we'll go back to the office, go over all the details, and we'll see how you feel after that. Right? I'm going to give you some more techniques to keep going, but I don't want to jump ahead. This is getting good. Now, 7 magic questions to never show more than how many homes, gang? Let me hear it. Yes.
Can I ask a quick question? Because
Sure.
we went through these 4 steps over there.
Yes.
When would you actually, when you meet with them in the office the first time, you gotta show them the mandatory,
Yes.
and you gotta go through the paperwork. You don't wanna go to the houses and show the houses without having contract with them.
Absolutely.
Would you address it right in the first meeting,
Yeah.
everything?
Absolutely. For instance, in the first meeting, and that's going to be another seminar, and what I'd like to do is actually present to you a live buyer presentation that I would give a buyer, and I'd be the agent, and you folks can be the buyers, and I'll show you exactly what I say and do to go through the process. Today, what I'm going to do is actually just explain the process to you, and that if you just follow this process alone, without even knowing the intricacies of the actual presentation, you'll be 10 times further ahead than the process that you're potentially using right now. So what you do is, to answer your question, you build rapport first, and as you're building rapport, you when you first meet with them, actually, before you even start building rapport, and this is a great rapport building tool, in my opinion, is you actually have the agency disclosure form. And so what I love to say to buyers, and you've heard me say this to sellers too, is Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, before we get into anything, and before we talk about anything, Massachusetts state law requires me to show you this form and go over it with you. I know that you've looked at other homes before and you've met with other agents, so I'm assuming you're incredibly familiar with this form and you understand it, am I right? And they always look at you and say what?
No.
And then you look at them,
Never signed it.
and you look at them and you make what kind of face? Really? You've never seen this before. How shocking, right? Well, if you read it right here, and I read it to them on the first line, it's required that upon first contact that the agent go over this form with you. So what have you now done to your reputation in the rapport that you have with them? What have you done for yourself?
Expanded it.
You show them you're a
You've
professional.
lended credibility to what you do. You've shown them that you're a professional, right? All of the above. And immediately, they now perceive you as someone different, someone better, right? And I think that's the best way to build rapport, is to start off with a business relationship being honest. And what you've done by being honest and doing your job, basically just doing the things you're supposed to do. I remember my first manager, George Reserve, said to me, John, if you just do the things you're supposed to do in this business, you'll absolutely shine. I didn't know what he meant at first, but as I continued to work in the business and I saw what other agents are doing, and I saw the results of showing up on time for appointments and going over the agency disclosure when other agents weren't doing it, and I got the feedback from my buyers and sellers, I thought, wow, I get it now. This makes the difference, right? So, number 1, how soon do you need to be settled in your new home? Question number 1 of the 7 questions which is part of your Safe Island Buyer Dialogue. And by the way, gang, we're at step number 2? Qualifying, right? We're qualifying them now. How soon do you need to be settled in your new home? Number 2, how long have you been looking for a home? And some people may say, 7 years. And some of you immediately, instinctively go, oh, brother, get rid of them, right? No, the bottom line is you need to probe and maybe ask a few more questions and say, oh, really, why is it that it took you that long? Oh, we were waiting for an inheritance to come through, it went through probate, it took that long to happen, and now we have the funds and we're ready to go now. Oh, well, the average agent just says, oh, forget this. And walks away from the table right then and there, right? I remember I went to a car dealership one time and I was looking at an automobile, and the car dealership, a salesperson came out to me in the lot, and I was looking at a vehicle and I wanted to know the difference between one vehicle and the other. There were different models, and I didn't know the difference between the two. And actually 3 different models, I didn't know the difference between the 3. And he said, why don't we come back inside and go over the details? So I said, okay. So I followed him in, and I sat down at the office table with him, and he said, so let me ask you a question. are you ready to buy a car today? And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I said, I don't know. I mean, I just really wanted to get some information. It's possible. He looked at me and says, do you want to buy a car today? And I said, probably not. And he looked at me, he crumpled up the paper he was writing on, threw it in the basket, and walked outside and had a cigarette. And I thought to myself, oh, that's a different way of handling it. True story. I would never go back to that dealership ever again. But just, it was actually kind of shocking. And the only thing I can think of is that this person had been in the business long enough to feel the pain of what it's like to deal with people who are getting all this information from you and then they never buy.
Oh, they buy
And
somewhere
so,
else.
or they buy somewhere else, and he just knew in his heart the frustration that was about to come, that he was going to be the educator, not the person making the sale, and he just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So not only, I mean, I'm sure there could have been a dialogue that he could have used, right?
Oh, yeah.
That would have helped him out of that situation. That would have helped. He should have continued on to ask more questions. Would you agree?
Yes,
Okay.
because I bet you would have bought a car from them.
I probably would have. I mean, I could have.
Yeah.
You know, I could have, but now I never will. But I mean, you know, there are better ways of handling it. In other words, some people that now are doing the right things, but only to a point. They're not following through all the way, right? Right, Sean? So number 3.
That's why Sean's here.
I know.
He was
yeah.
that guy, right?
No. I recruited that guy into real estate, right? Number 3, have you seen any homes that you've liked? Have you seen any homes that you've liked? Number 3. I love this question, number 4. And you know, just like the seller qualifying questions, they get gutsier as they go. Okay? Number 4 is, if I found the right home for you in 2 to 3 days,
Would you buy it?
now?
no, what would you do? What would you do? If I found the right home for you in 2 to 3 days, what would you do? Well, we'd call our Uncle Jack. Jack would come in. Jack's been, you know, a home inspector for,
Yeah,
for
right.
13
Oh,
years.
but I-
Have him come and look at it.
I
And
get
here's,
that.
here's what I would say.
That happened to me. No problem.
Me too, that happened
I
to
would
me.
say, no problem. Here's what we're going to do. When I schedule to view the 3 to 5 homes, it's imperative that Jack come with us to look at all 3 to 5 homes. Or if they say, I want my parents to come with me to look at the home that we find, that we like the best. And I always say, no. And I always tell them why. I tell them the truth. And I'm going to share it with you. Would you like to hear the dialogue that I use?
Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
You're all groaning and mumbling and grumbling right now because you know that the home inspector and or the parents are the kiss of what?
Yeah.
Right? You know that when they come in, they're going to knock it down. We paid $36,000 for our house when we bought our property, you know, years ago, and you know what they don't know is their kids just paid that much for their car, right? And so, and they're not so naive. They know what prices are in most cases. But what they do is, here's what happens: the couple can only afford a certain amount of property, right? So what they do is you narrow down the search for them, or you widen the search, right? And you find the 3 to 5 homes. You go out and look at the 3 to 5 homes. They pick the one they like the best. They invite their parents to come and see that property. Their parents chop it all up and they say, "Oh, that's horrible. The roof is old and the furnace is old and you know it's these hardwood floors. I don't think there's anything you could do to sand them deep enough to get them to come back to that rich luster like a brand new floor is." What the parents don't realize is that they can't afford the new construction home, right? And the parents say this house is a piece of what? Junk, right?
To be
What-
polite.
But what the parents don't realize is that in their price range, it's the best piece of junk that they can afford, right?
Right.
Right? So you see, what happens is you're putting the buyers through the process of elimination, but if they're not the ultimate decision maker, you're going to lose. Work with them one step at a time or not at all. That's a little step I added in there for you. If there's a little wrench in the works and the parent or someone else or Uncle Jack has to come in and approve it, they need to see all 3 to 5 homes or don't show them homes. You're wasting their time, you're wasting your time. And I tell buyers that. And I tell them right out, I said, here's the reason why I need your parents to come with us. You need to do everything you possibly can to get your father to come with us to look at these homes. Otherwise, you are going to be disappointed. See, if you take something away from them, they're more apt to comply with it, they're more apt to do it. I don't think of it from my selfish reasons why I am going to potentially lose a sale as a result of it. I'm telling them the truth. The truth is they're going to lose the house of their dreams. They're not going to have the support of their parents. And by the way, Dad was kicking in $10,000 to help with the down payment, but so he's controlling whether or not they're buying that house, right? He's just going to no. Guess what he's going to say? Keep what?
Looking.
Keep looking. Looking at what? We've already looked at everything in the multiple listing service. Try explaining that to Dad the day of the showing. No. Why? You haven't had a chance to build rapport with Dad. You haven't qualified him, right? And because you missed those 2 steps, imagine working with a buyer missing those 2 steps. How hard it would be. Right? Almost impossible. So I explained, I said, just to eliminate your potential disappointment, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you have to bring that person so that it's not fair to you or to them to have them look at one home without a comparison to other properties. So, providing your dad can come with us, I'll schedule these homes for Sunday. If not, we'll have to schedule another. By the way, I did call on this one property. I overheard someone talking to my office. This one's getting a lot of activity. We really should get into this one right away. Right? Because that happens. All the time. Yep. The one they like the best on the computer, by the time they get around to showing it, to seeing it, it's already under agreement. Okay, what number are we on now, gang?
5.
Number 5. I'm going to suggest that our in-house loan officer, Jackie McNitch,
Call you.
so that you can have an approval. Yeah, I'm sorry, I worded that wrong. I'm going to suggest that Jackie McNitch from GMAC Mortgage call you so that you can have an approval letter.
How do you spell the last name?
MC, capital N-I-N-C-H.
Okay.
And see, this is a crucial point, gang. And this is where a lot of real estate agents fail, okay? And those of you watching me on the monitor right now, please listen to this. It's so important, okay? Here's what the average low-producing agent says. Here are 3 mortgage people that you can call, and you can get a pre-approval if you want, and then, I'll need that before, I put in the offer. Now, part of qualifying, gang, is not just motivation, but it's also what? Monetarily, are they qualified? I need you to go through this step so that we can know accurately what you can afford. Oh, we know what we can afford. We know what our budget is. We know what we want. We went online and we did one of those mortgage calculators, and we did this and we did that, and we ordered our credit report from TransUnion, and I'm like, whoa, okay, well, wait a minute. There are some certain things. There are a lot of little nuances about mortgages that even I don't even know, and I've been in the business for so long, so it's really important that you talk to a mortgage professional. This is a great motivator also to get buyers to get pre-approved. Share with them this fact, and this isn't in your notes, this is a little bonus I'm going to give you, okay? The fact is that there are millions, and I mean millions of Americans who have mistakes on their credit report and they don't even know it. Right, Sean, when you were pulling up credit reports, sure people are when you were helping people with financing, you'd see that they would have credit reports and they have mistakes on it. Whoa, that's not me, right? How many of you have ever seen a mistake on your credit report by a show of hands? Have you ever seen one? Almost half the room, I've had on mine, they had a different name on mine, all different wacky things. So when is it good to find out about these mistakes? Now, what's funny is that half the room raised their hand saying they had mistakes. The other half of the room, you don't know you have mistakes on your credit report yet because you haven't seen it lately, okay? So it's epidemic, gang. I mean, it's really intense. So you say to the buyer, look, doesn't it make sense to know if there are any mistakes on your credit report now? Or we checked it last month. Well, something could have happened in 30 days. The mistake could have been put on your credit report in the last 30 days. So you need to get this checked out now, rather than you see the house of your dreams, you put it under agreement, you find out you can't get financing anywhere because of this silly little mistake on your credit report because Verizon says you owe them $327 and it's not even you that owes the money, or it is you and you have to dispute it because they're charging you wrongfully, and now you can't buy the house because of something silly on your credit report, so it really makes sense to do that. Arthur, you look unhappy. What is it?
Well, it just seems like credit reports are going to lose credibility if that's happening to millions of people all the time. I mean, people are going to look at it and say, well, there's probably errors, and
Right.
so what good is it?
Unfortunately, lenders are using them
Yeah, right now.
to get financing. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. It is frustrating. They really need to clean it up.
Yeah.
It's horrible. In addition to that, gang, it's identity theft is also epidemic. And that's affecting people's credit reports. And people don't know that their identity has been stolen until after the damage is already done. That's how they find out about it, right? So really important that they get pre-approved. And this is how I work, gang. Hey, listen, if they don't get pre-approved by my in-house lender, you know, some say, well, we have our own lender, right? And I say to them, well, that's fine, that's no problem. Why don't we do this? I don't mind. I'll have Jackie call you anyway, right? Because here's the bottom line. I trust our in-house lender a lot more than I would their friend, right? Because I know our in-house lender has more at stake, right?
And what if they come with the letter, with the pre-approval letter?
I've never had that happen,
Really?
but if it does happen, then that's okay.
Go to the next step.
Yeah, go to the, or I find out, you know, what are the details. Sometimes the letter is, now, you have to know this too. It could be
Yeah,
outdated.
Right.
More importantly, here's another step, gang. Not only may the credit, the approval be outdated, but there's a difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval.
That's right.
You know, these folks are pre-qualified based on their income and their debts. So, and it's subject to having their credit checked. Not all lenders, a lot of lenders will give people a pre-qualification letter without checking their credit or without running them through desktop underwriting, which is a system that loan originators use in order to make sure that these people are qualified. It's almost guaranteed they're getting a loan when they go through that. The reason why they don't want to do that is too much work. You know, a lot of these lenders won't do it. So what they'll try to shortcut, give you a letter, and here's what the lender says. Find a house, come and see me, and we'll get you going then. But then there are problems. You experienced people, you all know this. You know, Mart's nodding her head. You know, she's been through it. I've been through it personally. They say everything's fine. We go with it, and it's under agreement, and then we have issues. We have problems that could have been prevented had we had them pre-approved by our in-house lender first. Here's another motivation. You're not going to buy the first house you see, are you? If I show you the first house, you're going to buy that one? Or are you going to look at the next one we have scheduled a half an hour later just to compare? What will you do?
Compare.
Why would you go with the first lender you talked to? But by the way, only say this if they've already gone to another lender. Right.
Otherwise,
say,
they want to go to yours.
yeah, right. And say, and here's why I'm driving home our in-house lender so much. The communication gap is closed, gang.
Right.
Is just so much more control over the process. It's so much
You could say
better.
everyone's in the loop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a huge benefit in that. And most people are receptive to that. When you ask them these questions and you point out these points, 90% of the people say, okay, no problem. 10% of the people say, no, I can't do that because this lender, it's my cousin and he would kill me even if I had my credit checked
They got
by
it through
someone
work
else.
or something like
Right.
that.
Here's another myth. Oh, I can't have my credit checked too many times because it lowers my credit score. That's false. It's not true. You can have your credit checked as many times as you want within a 30-day time period, as long as it's for shopping for a house, and it will not affect your credit score because they now realize that people shop for loans. If for auto loans, if I did an auto loan search and I went to, 13 different places to check their rates and they had to run my credit, as long as it was just an auto loan in that 30-day period, it would not affect my credit score. So it's fine, it's not a big deal. Yes?
I have a buyer that sat down with her lender this week. I don't know who the lender is, but she's waiting for the letter, and then we're going to start looking. If it's a pre-approval letter, do I still have to have her sit down with Jackie?
I would call the lender and I would say, I would recommend it. You don't have to, it's not mandatory. But I would say, listen, I know you're comfortable with that person. How about this? Would you like to get a second opinion? Or would you like to compare rates? Right? Or maybe you work with the pre-approval letter and now a week or two later you find them the house, you're writing up the offer, they have 3 to 5 days to apply for financing, right? And you say to them, why don't I do this? I don't mind. I'm going to have that Jackie person that I met earlier, I'm going to have her give you a call so you can compare rates. And I don't, listen,
That's a good one.
I don't ask the
Comparing
question.
rates would be
I don't
a
say,
good
can
one.
I? Listen, I'm a buyer's agent. I work with a full-service real estate company. And I say to my buyers, if you want to do a good job for your buyers, push them toward our mortgage. You're helping them. I don't even, because I know it's good for them, I don't even ask. I know it's good for them. So I say to them, listen, I'm going to have her call you. You see, if their lender doesn't know that they have any competition, they may increase the points and not even call them points. They might cause them brokerage fee and put it in the HUD statement, right? So these are all things that will certainly help your buyer. And by the way, gang, people want help like that. I mean, you know, if somebody did that for me, I would thank them. You follow me? Wouldn't you? Right? So do things for your buyers that they will thank you for. Does that make sense? And you'll get more what? Referrals. Right, gang?
Right.
All right. Excellent. Who's ready for number 6? I know I am. Do you have any? Do you have any? I love this word.
Concerns?
Questions?
What was that?
Reservations.
Lori? Reservations.
Objections.
Reservations. Do you have any reservations? About employing me exclusively for a minimum of 2 weeks. I like that word, reservations. I don't make dinner, I make. Right. Right. Now, let me talk about that for a minute. What I love about this question, and I kind of tweak this question myself, and I'm patting myself on the back a little bit. What I love about this question is that it gives them an opportunity to say no. And instinctively, people have been around salespeople so much knowing that a salesperson's job is to get them to say all these little yeses.
Yeah.
How many people have ever heard that? If you get people to say enough little yeses, they'll say a big yes at the end. You know, but it's amazing when people walk into a store and there's a salesperson there, or they walk into a car lot and there's a salesperson runs right up to them and they say, "Hi, can I help you?" And what do they say instinctively? No, I'm just looking.
Right.
No, because instinctively people want to say no when they feel like they're being sold. So if you give them an opportunity to do that, and they're saying no, and they're closing themselves at the same time, it's just a beautiful thing. It's just something I kind of get excited about. Anyway, I know you're probably thinking, John, you need to get a life. But anyway, I get pretty excited about it. So do you have any reservations about employing me exclusively for a minimum of 2 weeks? And you can look at them and say this. Right? Now, here's why I say 2 weeks. Now, John, what do you mean when you say 2 weeks? Shouldn't our exclusive buyer contract be for 6 months? Well, sure it should. But listen, gang, if you can't find them a house in 2 weeks, and they're not moving in the direction that you'd like them to, and they're not cooperating and qualifying, you don't want to be beholden to them for 6 months. You want to let them go in 2 weeks. You want to fire them. You follow me? Because while you're spending more than 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years working with these people, that's time you, as a valuable human being who can offer phenomenal services to a lot of wonderful people, your time is all taken up now. You're not available because you're working with these other people. Here's what happens. I hear people answer the phone sometimes. I can tell when somebody has a buyer to show buyers homes on the weekends. Because the agents answer the phone, and when they get a lead, an opportunity to show a house on the weekend, they kind of blow the buyer off. They put obstacles in the way of the buyer. Well, do you have a pre-approval? They automatically start to get real cocky. They don't start building rapport. They go right to the qualifying on the phone right away because they're trying to blow this buyer off because the agent is too busy. But here's the sad part, gang. They're too busy not making money. You know, this business is a great business. You can make a tremendous amount of money per hour in this business, or you can work your butt off day and night and weekends and not make anything, because you're spending time with the wrong people. Okay, gang? So, number 7. I mean, don't look so serious, guys. I mean, you know, lighten up a little bit. The good news is you're here. I'm providing you with the information. I'm showing you how to make the most amount of money per hour, right? Number 7, we're going to do a thorough search through the computer. And gang, here's what I'd like you to do. If everyone could please follow with me. Everyone say the word computer. Ready? Go.
Computer.
Take out the word MLS out of your vocabulary, gang, because you're the only one that knows what that means. The average human being out in the real world, outside of real estate, right, thinks that MLS stands for Major League Soccer, okay? And you say, I'm going to take you through Major League Soccer, and we're going to pick the best. And they're like, what do you think of MLS, right? Stop using that term. You know, here's what I hear agents say all the time, even on listing appointments. Well, you're familiar with the MLS, right? And the agent goes like this. And so the buyer or seller, as to not appear stupid, goes, sure, we know what it is. They don't know what it is. They're just agreeing with you, figuring that you're going to say something in the next sentence that will give them a clue as to what it really is. So stop using MLS and CMA and XYZ and ABC. They really don't know. Okay, GMAC?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And pick the best blank to blank homes. What? 3 to 5. All right, Diane. Diane's honing in on that 3 to 5. I love it. Then we'll view the homes, pick the one you like the best, come back to this office, and write up the paperwork, or you can change it to go over the details, like we said earlier, whatever you feel comfortable saying. I like that, you know, write up the paperwork, or go over the paperwork. Crossed out that word "write up." I don't like that at all. Who wrote that? I think I did.
Go over
Yeah.
the details.
Yeah, go over the details, or go over the paperwork. And then you just simply say to them, how does working this way seem to you? And most people will say yes. You know, here's what I found. People who don't want to buy a house will say no. See, this, again, folks, is one of the only infallible things that I could possibly share with you, is the system of working with buyers. It's the only thing that I can show you that works every single time. Because when they say no to any one of these questions, or they respond negatively, I should say, to any one of these questions, then you don't work with them, you win. You follow me? If they respond yes, you're in control, you show 3, 4, 5 homes, and you win. Either way, you what? You win, right? Now, something I want to share with you is a technique. This is a technique that I think is just fantastic. And I don't remember whether I made it up myself, or whether I learned it from someone else, or whether I used it for something else and then I adopted it for real estate, but it's pretty cool. Let me give you an example, okay? I went into the clothier, right? And he shows me all these ties, you know? That's a bow tie. I'm sorry.
This is new, but we.
Not an artist. Right. Okay. Okay. So he shows me these 4 ties.
What's that?
And these ties, that's a
That's
tie.
ties.
Yeah,
That's an ugly tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shows me these 4 ties and he says, John, here are the ties I picked out that would go with this suit, these 4 ties. See, he wants me to just pick out one tie, because when I pick out one tie, what have I done?
Eliminated the others. You made a decision.
No, I just bought a tie. Come on, folks, work with me. These are salespeople too, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't bring out 4 ties and say pick one, or if he just goes to the rack and says, hey, go pick out a tie, I'm going to go like, yeah, I probably have one at home that will probably match, right? And you get a new suit, you want to get a new tie with that, right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, right? Ladies, you get a new handbag, you want to get a pair of what to match? Shoes, right? Right? So now, So now he comes to me and he says, all right, John, I'm going to gear this toward houses now. You ready? We looked at these 4 ties. Tie 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I'm going to do is, let's pretend this is the suit, right? And I'm going to say, okay, if you had to choose just between these 2 ties to match with this suit, which one would you like the best? And Mark, which one do you like the
I'll
best?
take number 2.
Number 2. So what does that do to number 1, gang?
Eliminate.
Eliminates. Okay, now I picked out this 3rd and 4th tie to go with this suit. And between, Mark, between tie number 2 and number 3 to go with this suit, which one do you think matches the best?
I like my 2.
2 again? So what does that do to number 3, gang?
Get rid of it.
Number 3. Right? Mark, if 2 and 4 were the last 2 ties in the world to choose from, and you had to pick one and only one to match with this suit, which one would you pick?
I'll stick to my number 2.
Stick to what happens to number 4, gang?
Eliminate.
Now, what happens with a house? What happens with a house? What happens with a house? When you go out and you show them 5 properties, right? And they come back at the end of the day and you say, okay, let's sit down and go over the paperwork. And in their mind, this is what they see.
All 5.
They see these 5 homes, right? That's a townhouse. What's that?
A ranch.
Ranch, right? And I don't know. Let's say this is a cape. Okay. All right. So now, what happens is they see all 5 of these homes in their mind. And gang, if you take one valuable thing away from today, this is such a great technique. Because here's what happens to most agents. They go out, they do everything right. And they get to the point where they show them the homes, they show them all 5 homes, and when they're all done, they even do the right thing by bringing them back to the office, and they bring them back to the office, and when they're back at the office, they say, okay, so what do you think? Bah. Well, they start talking, and they start saying, well, we like the one with the orange countertops, but we didn't like the size of the backyard. And you say, oh, no, wait a minute, that one did have a good-sized backyard. I think you're referring to the one with the brown kitchen cabinets and the linoleum floor. Oh, no, that wasn't that one. That was the one with the green sofa in the front living room. Remember how bright green that sofa was? And how, and they start confusing the houses because they've only seen each of them for maybe half an hour, 20 minutes apiece. So imagine the power of the technique. And here's what I do as part of my Safe Island dialogue with the buyer gang. What I do is I go through and I explain to them. I said, listen, we're going to go out, we're going to see 3 to 4 homes. And I draw 3 to 4 homes on a piece of paper for them. And I said, here's what we're going to do before we go out. I'm going to ask you to only compare 2 at a time. And they say, what do you mean 2 at a time? Well, the problem is if you look at all 5 and you try to compare all 5 at the same time, most people find it extremely confusing and complex and it's frustrating. So what we're going to do is here's the dialogue that I'm going to use with you. Here's the Safe Island. Here's the dialogue that I'm going to use with you, Judy, when we go out and we look at these homes. We're going to look at the first home and I'm going to say, Judy, what do you think about this house? And you're going to probably tell me, well, I want to compare it to the other one before I make a decision if I want to buy that property. And I'll say, okay. But Judy, I'm going to ask you this question at the end of because I was trained, I learned in real estate school to ask you this question. I'm going to show you house number 1. I'm going to ask you if you want to buy it. Okay? And you're going to say, probably, I want to compare it to house number 2. And I'm going to say, okay, so we're going to go to house number 2, right? So I go over to house number 2, and then at this point, Judy, here's what I'm going to say to you. I'm going to say, Judy, between house number 1 and house number 2, if these were the last 2 homes on earth, and you had to pick one and only one, and they were both at the same price, which one would you pick, 1 or 2?
2.
2. Okay, so that eliminates number what, gang? 1, right? Now, Judy, when we go to see house number 3, you see where I'm going with this, Judy?
Yeah.
Right? We're going to see house number 3. Let's just play along for the fun of it. Between house number 2 and house number 3, if these were the last 2 homes on earth and you had to pick one, notice my dialogue, you had to pick one.
Okay.
And they were both at the same what, gang?
Price.
Which one would you pick? 2. See, because sometimes they want to get price in the
No,
mix.
I like 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. All right.
That's okay.
2 is, put a little halo around it.
There
How's
you
that?
go.
House number 2. And between house number 2 and 4, which one?
I go with
2. So that takes out number 4. 2 and 5?
I go with
You still like house number 2? Because
The
that's
biggest one.
So
That's why
now,
I picked it.
and they're all the same price. And see, what I've done is I've taken out the fact that, well, this one's offered at $389 and this one's offered at $350. So they're looking at the $350 one like a better value, and they're confusing which one they should go for.
Right.
When in reality, maybe we can get the one for $389 for $350, but more importantly, that doesn't matter. We're looking in your price what, gang?
Price
Right.
range.
We're looking in your price range. You can afford everything I'm going to show you.
And which one do you really like?
Which one do you really like the best? Because when it all comes down, if you're going to live the next 10 to 30 years in this house,
Gotta like it.
don't you want it to be the one that you like the most?
Yeah.
And they look at me and they go, yeah. I've had buyers look at me and literally say, wow, that's genius. I said, well, great, I'm glad you like it. I said, you could use that when you're going out. Let's say there are 3 different movies that you want to see one night. Eliminate, only compare 2 at a time. Okay, gang? Could you use this for other things in life? Absolutely. Right? Very, very, very powerful technique. Buyers love it, and you're giving them the best service possible. And the other beautiful thing about it is when you go back to the office to go over the details, you're not going over the details for how many houses? 5.
1.
You know what happens with most low-producing agents? They go back to the office, and the buyers are so confused. They're like, we don't know. We don't know which one, because we kind of like these 2, and, one, and the third. What about the third one? I like the third one. And she says, well, I didn't like that one at all. And here's what they do. They cuddle up next to you, Judy, and they say, well, let's look on the computer some more, Judy. Come on, let's. And then the agent goes over, not Judy, but the agent goes over and shows them more homes on the computer, makes more appointments, and this just goes on and on and on until the buyer, just dies from boredom, is frustrated they can't find the home they want, or they're happy because they're just getting decorating ideas and they have nothing else better to do on Sunday, and they're waiting for prices to go down while rates go up, right? Come on, gang, right? Can you see how this could change a real estate agent's life just knowing these facts today, right? And I'm not even done yet. You want more?
Yes.
All right. How to increase sales, part number 2. We're going to go a little quicker now. Which should you take with you on a showing? The address and phone number, or all the information about the house? What do you take with you on a listing presentation? What do I tell you? Everything, right?
Yeah.
What should you take with you when you go to show a house?
Address and phone number.
Nope, nothing. Arthur, you're good. The address and phone number. But John, I'll make sure I cover that in a moment. I know this is shocking some of you right now, but I have some good things to share with you. Remember what I always say, if I'm only sharing with you some things that you already know, that you're already doing, then all I'm doing is helping you continue to get what you're getting right now. In order to improve, in order to make a difference, I need to share with you things that are different than what you've been hearing, what other agents in your office are doing and saying, and what you're currently doing right now, in order to make an effective change in what it is that you do and the results that you get from it. Okay? You all with me on that?
Yep.
All right. Number 4.
Well, the address, what's the phone number? The address of the property you're going to see, and the phone number of the agent that has the lockbox to go into
Correct.
it?
Exactly. Yes. Number 4 is before you show them a house, you should A, point out all the good features, or B, prepare them for the worst.
Okay.
The answer is B, prepare them for the worst. And I'm going to cover that too. I'm going to share with you why that is so important.
That's like
It creates
reverse
urgency.
psychology.
Well, exactly. It's like reverse psychology. Absolutely. You know, the element of pleasant surprise creates urgency.
Right.
Okay, gang? When showing a house, A, make sure the seller is always present. B, let the seller show it for you. Or C, let the buyers discover it for themselves. C is correct. Number 2, if a buyer points out a negative about the house, A, ignore it. B, turn it into a positive. Or C, don't worry about it unless they want to buy it. Or D, any of the above. D is correct. You know, Andre learned a long time ago that whenever D is an option, that is the answer. I don't know how many times I have to tell you this. It never changes. Whenever you have all the above, that is the answer. Okay. Right, Andre? You're good. The best way to stay in control when showing a house is to A, walk in front of them facing backwards. I love that. B, walk behind them and step on their heels and give them a poke in the butt if they're going too slow, right? Or C, ask questions. You got it. You guys are good. Ask
We're gonna
questions.
go over that, right?
We're going to go over that.
Good.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I cover that. Now, in the last segment, I gave you 3 rules to sell more homes, right? With fewer showings, right? I gave you some rules to sell more homes with fewer showings. In this segment, I'm going to give you 3 more nuggets. Also, selling more with fewer showings, and that's what it's all about, right, gang? Isn't it? Some of you look really tired right now. I mean, I'm the one doing all the work up here. I mean, you're just sitting down absorbing all this. You look very tired, right? Some people hear what they want to, what? Hear. You know?
Where are we?
It reminds me.
We're missing
Are we
that
roll
number
4?
We're missing roll 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, yeah, we're doing it.
We don't have we don't have the 3 stages.
We
We have 4 and 5 and 6.
We start at 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's right.
No problem.
No. Listen, gang.
Oh, continues.
It's a continuation from the previous page. So I gave you 3. I'm going to give you 3 more, so you should have 4 on your
5, and
page.
6.
Rule number
Got it.
4, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 3 more rules, but they're numbered 4, 5, and 6. You scared me there for a minute.
We
right?
got it.
All right. You know, when people hear what they want to hear, you know, when I always talk about this subject, people hear what they want to hear. Even though they were here and they heard something, they still continue to go out to do it something different because people hear what they want. It reminds me of that couple. They were sitting on a park bench, and the man looked over at the woman. He said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And she said, "Okay." And he says, "So, what do you do?" And she said, "Well, actually, I've been in prison for." He said, "Really? For how long?" She said, "For 30 years." He goes, "Wow, what happened?" He said, "Well, I shot my husband, put him in a freezer. 2 years later, they found him and they caught me and they put me in jail." He says, "Oh, so you're single?" People hear what they want to hear. So again, gang. Rule number 4.
All the women are relating with that.
I know, they're laughing too much. It's kind of scaring me.
I'm feeling kind of cold right now.
Yes, I'm feeling kind of cold. It's a little chilly, yeah. Rule number 4, turn the negatives into positives. Rule number 4, turn the negatives into positives. I'm going to give you 3 techniques that when you're hit with an objection, 3 different things that you can do. You know, let me give you an example of turning a negative into a positive. This is one way you can handle it. For instance, let's say the house has really small bedrooms. You might want to use a dialogue similar to this. Before you get into the property, you stop at the door. Before you go into the lockbox, you look at the sellers and the buyers, and you say, "Listen, this builder was an absolute genius. You know, here's what I mean by that. When building a home, you have 2 base. You can only get so much. When you're buying a home, you only get so much square footage for the what?
Money.
For the money, right? And what this builder did is there are 2 different types of rooms. There are primary rooms and there are secondary rooms. The primary rooms are the living room, dining room, and kitchen. That's where you spend most of your time, right? And then there are the secondary rooms, and those are called the bedrooms, of course. And so what the builder did in this property is he took the inches away from the bedrooms, the secondary rooms, and gave more inches to the primary rooms. You follow me?
Yeah.
And so we go in and we see the property, and now they see it in a different. So I turn the negative. What's the negative? They have small what?
Small
bedrooms.
Small bedrooms. And the positive is
Larger.
larger rooms. Right, larger primary rooms. So that's an example of putting. And I put some. You know, like a property is. Let's say I gave another hint down there. I put the property's in disrepair. I mean, it's a fixer-upper. And again, you only get so much square footage for your what?
Money.
So what's the benefit of turning the negative that it's in disrepair? What's the positive?
You get more, you can fix it for less, and you can have a house.
Yeah, absolutely. You get more for less, right? More square footage for less. Number 5, take blank with you on a showing. Now, based on the 5 questions I just asked you, what should you take with you? What's the answer?
All the decision makers.
Well, that's good. Yes, absolutely. That definitely applies. But this is something different. I'm going to ask you to write down nothing. Take nothing with you on a showing. Because what do some agents do when they're showing a property? They take They take the file of all the stuff. In fact, they do all the research on all the properties. They pulled up the deeds, the field cards, the septic tank plans at the town hall, and everything with them on the property. And why do agents take all this stuff with them when they're going out to show a property? In case the buyer has a what?
Question.
Question, right, Ken?
Yeah.
You have to go back to the office for that.
Right.
See, you got it, right on. See, if you have all the answers to all your questions with you, you have no reason to go back to the where? The office, right? That's definitely a very good point. But whenever I say don't take anything with you on a showing, whenever, regardless of the group I've spoken in front of, I can always tell when they disagree with something because they're sitting there and there are two agents sitting next to each other, look at each other, and all of a sudden they go.
Shouldn't you have
Right?
a notepad with you though, John?
Hold that thought. I know that you start wiggling in your chair. Well, what if they have a question? And here's what I've heard agents say. I've heard agents say, it is completely different than what you're used to, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you want completely different results compared to what you're used to, follow this plan. And I'll sell you on it. Are you ready? Here's why. Number one, I know that you don't buy in most of the time when I talk to people about this. When buyers ask you a question, okay, like I put down in your notes here, what is the lot size, right? Didn't I put that down there?
Yes.
You know, what is the lot size? And here's what that agent does, like this. They go, let me see. And they take out the form and the paper and they, the lot size is 90 by 20. Everyone, give me a round of applause for that, please. I said 90 by 20. You know, I went to school to learn how to do that. I read it just right. Didn't I do good?
Yeah.
All right, 90 by 120. Yes, that's the lot size. And, gang, that's what the low-producing agent does. See, here's what top producers do who are working with buyers. Top producers do this. Here's what they think in their mind. You ready? Ask me what the lot size is. Ready? Go.
What's
What is the lot size?
What's the difference? Now, I don't want you to say that, but I want you to think that. Because, gang, truly, what is the difference? It doesn't matter what the lot size is. What matters is this. What matters is you say to the buyer and you say, well, we can always look that up in the sheet inside the house, or maybe we can go back to the office and check that out. But let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the size of this lot? Is it too big? Right? How do you feel about it? Because people don't, buying is still an emotional decision. There's nobody sitting there with a spreadsheet. I know you might have one buyer that that did this, but has a spreadsheet that's comparing all these things, right? And coming up with the best value, because even if there's a guy out there that does that, there's a woman that's out there that says, no, we're buying this one. Yes, but the square footage and the parameter and the distance of the frontage and the whole, and she's going to say, I like this one better. How did she like that one better? Or how did he like that one better? They felt it, right? So you always go back to feelings, gang. How do you feel about this yard? Well, it's way too small. I could never put my tractor back here, and I really wanted room for a garden. Okay, right? How about this one? How much are the taxes? Ready? Ask me.
How much is the taxes?
And I think what? As a top producer, I think what?
What's the difference?
Ready? Everybody say it together. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you. You ready? Agent, what are the taxes? And you say,
What's the difference?
what's the difference? Some of you can't even say that right now. It's so objectionable to your way of thinking. Like, what's the difference? Well, here's the thing. Remember at the last seminar I said look at your alternatives. Your alternatives are you can give them the information.
Then they don't need you anymore, they got too much information.
Yeah, and they don't need you anymore. They have too much information. And here's what happens. When people have too much information, they can't decide to decide.
Right.
Okay? And here's what you can simply say. I even wrote it down for you. I'm not sure, but we can get that information and we can use it toward your monthly payment, right? And add it into part of your pre-approval and figure that out. And they just go, okay, and they keep doing what? Looking at the house. And by the way, gang, when a buyer says any one of those two things, you know what kind of signals those are? They're buying signals, right? They're buying signals. Well, they walk into the master bedroom. What is the size of this room? The average agent pulls out the paper, MLS form. It's not in the form. They run out to their car, they get their tape measure and a piece of paper, and they measure out the room and blah, 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 blah. Instead, what does the pro do? The pro says, does it look like this bedroom size will work for you? Yeah, I think we could get our armoire over in the corner. We might have to put it a little bit closer to the window than I'd like, but we could fit the bed in, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. That's what the pro does. The pro takes what with them on showings? What do they take with them?
Nothing.
That's
Phone
what a
number.
pro does. What's that?
The phone number.
The phone number, right, to the agent. Hey,
Flashlight.
where can I fax you the offer? That's where I want the phone number, right?
You want the addresses of where you're going.
In the addresses, absolutely. Mark, very good. You got it. But here's what happens. Unfortunately, agents, they print out the full MLS data sheet. You got the address and the phone numbers all on there. And I would caution you, don't take all that stuff with you. Here's even worse. I've seen this, I know, because I did this when I was a low-producing agent. I actually gave them the MLS sheets and said, here are the properties we're going to be touring, and here's a map of the neighborhood, and blah, blah, blah. And here's a comp on every single one of the 4 houses we've seen, and what properties have sold, and pending, and active, and blah. And it's like, wow. But the bottom line is, which house did they buy? They bought the one that they what? They felt good about, the one that they liked the most. Right, gang? See, what happens, we got into some bad habits and we got away from helping people buy. Instead, we're trying to sell. You think that by having all the information, you're going to look like more of a pro, but you're only
Yeah,
hurting yourself
that's what
and you're
happens.
only hurting them.
Yeah.
Because you want to give them that perception that I have all the answers. You know what, gang? Years ago, you did.
Yeah.
But today, they do. They have all the answers. They know what the taxes and the square footage is. We used to be the keepers of the information. Now they have everything that we pay for free, what we pay money for to get. Right? All the MLS data. So stay away from that. And I even tell buyer, if a buyer showed up with an MLS listing sheet of everyone, I said, listen, do me a favor. Leave that here in the office now. We'll come back and we'll refer this information because I've often found that it interferes with people making the right decision. In other words, instead of looking at the house and getting a feel for it, you're looking at the piece of paper, looking at the square footage and the room sizes, and you're really not feeling the house. So if you don't mind, let's leave that stuff here and see how it feels to look at homes just by looking at homes. And they go, wow, yeah, okay, John, that makes sense. Rule of thumb, gang, the more information you give them at the house, the fewer reasons they need to sit down and talk turkey with you. Right? Louise, you're good. You were like 2 paragraphs ahead of me. You got it. No, you were.
Oh.
You said that just a few minutes ago.
Now you're back.
If you give them all the information, they have no reason. Yeah, Judy, you said that. I'm sorry. Yeah. They have no reason to go back and sit down and talk turkey with you. Sales are lost at the house because we give them too much what? Information. That's correct. Information. They either blanket or they don't feel it. They either feel it or they don't feel it when they look at that home. Rule number 6. Always go out and prepare them for the worst, not the best. Always go out and prepare them for the worst, not the best.
What was it? They either
They either feel it or they don't feel it. Here's another rule of thumb, gang. You ready? The higher the expectations, the harder they what? The harder they fall. The higher the expectations, the harder they fall.
Can you give us an example, John, of preparing them for the worst?
Sure. I'm glad you asked that question. In fact, if you look right down at the next sentence, if a property is super clean, the agent says, this might be the one that might need a lot of cleaning, right? And because you've caravanned it and you know that it's super clean, right? And you open it, and you can even smile with them, and eventually it'll become a joke. You know, they'll know that you're doing this, and you can even joke around about doing this if you want, depending on the type of rapport you have with these people. And they go in and they look at the property and they see that it's clean, right? Or you say, this place might be a real dump when we go in here. The last time I saw, there was a lot of clutter, there was a lot of mess. The seller was supposed to do some things, but I don't know if they did. So be prepared for what you see in here. And what they do is they walk in and they go, well, this isn't that bad. And by the way, your definition of clean might be different than someone else's definition of clean, too. You might think the place is sparkling, and they may walk in and say, it's all right. So don't talk about any of the positives before you go into a property. Remember, gang, you know, the best way to sell a house is don't sell it. Let the what? Let the house sell itself, right? The best thing you can do is manage expectations. That's the only thing you can do is manage expectations. Let's say the house has great room sizes, and you say, I'm not sure your bedroom furniture, you said you had a king-size bed, I'm not sure your bedroom furniture is going to fit in this master bedroom. Well, let's go and check it out. And they walk in, and they're expecting to see this little room with a slanted ceiling, go right over the bed, and they walk in and they go, wow, right? Hey, this'll work for us. And now they're buying. See, the average agent, I hear agents out there doing this when we go out on caravan. You ladies know this, we all go, and gentlemen, you know this, we go on caravan together, we go out there, and sometimes the agent will lead us around by the nose and try to sell us the property as if we're buying it, and tell us all the great things about the house. When if they were smart, they would say, geez, you know what, I don't know if there are enough bedrooms upstairs for any buyers that you have, but when you go up there, check it out and see what you think. You know, I'm covering this, you know, how about this one? It has a finished basement. You know it has a finished basement. Say, listen, I know you're looking for some additional room for the family room, but I don't think this house has a finished basement. I'm not even sure that this basement is suitable to be finished. And they walk down and they see this professionally finished basement. And they go, wow, right?
Yeah, but don't they think you're a little bit cuckoo?
Yeah, that you don't know your house.
Well, here's the deal. Well, here's the deal. The reason why you're thinking that is because I'm hammering you with these one after the other. But if I say one semi-negative thing about every house, you're not going to know what I'm doing. I'm just giving you these examples one after the other, like rapid fire. So it might sound that way right now. But if you were looking at homes with me, I would make sure that it didn't sound like I was just saying negative things about every room of the house. In other words, I wouldn't say all these things about every house, about one house. I would say it about, you know, different houses. The secret to selling, gang, the element of blank blank creates blank. The element of pleasant surprise creates what? Urgency. And urgency creates a what? Andrea, say it right. You got it.
Creates what?
Now, would this apply to when you're doing an open house? When you're doing an open house, you usually tend to tell them about the good things.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. Like at an open house, I would say to them, listen, I don't know how you feel about hanging around outside. They have a porch, but, you know, some people don't like a porch. And they go out there, and there's this beautiful deck, and it's all screened in, and so they can't get any mosquitoes after them or anything like that. Or, and they might go in there, and they might say, you know what, yeah, I hate this porch. And now they like you because you like what they like. Or they walk out on the porch, and they say, well, actually, that realtor, you know, is wrong.
Yeah.
I like this porch. This is a good porch. So yes, yeah, absolutely, you can use that in an open house. You can't say to them, look, I don't know if this house has a porch or not, because you've already went through the house. You know, you have to work yourself carefully. So great salespeople always do three things. Let's recap. Number one, they turn negatives into what, gang?
Positive.
They take blank with them on a showing.
Nothing.
What do they take with them?
Nothing.
I just wanted to hear the lovely word again. Okay, and always go out and prepare them for the worst, not the best. You will literally sell more homes with fewer showings using these techniques. How to increase sales, part what?
Great.
Part 3, the most important things to watch for on a showing are buying signals, changes in the weather, or flaws in the house.
Buying signals.
Absolutely. Number 4, when you see buying signals, you should do something as opposed to nothing. Close softly, yet definitely. Walk on eggs back to the office, or all of the above.
All of the above.
You got it. You guys are good. Buyers are more likely to make a buying decision, A, standing in the parking lot looking at their watch, or B, sitting in the office with their questions answered.
B.
You know, there's something real important, gang, and I'm going to say this a few times. People only make a decision when they're sitting on their butts, okay? So you want to get them to sit down. Number 2, ask them to buy every house you show them because A, it's the least you can do, B, they won't close themselves, or C, they expect it.
Seats?
The answer is A.
Hey.
It's the least you can do. And it really is the least you can do. Number 1, always show the buyers, A, what they tell you that they're looking for, B, in-house inventory, or C, just the ones they pick out? And the answer is B, in-house inventory, because it closes the communication gap. So what you want to do is you want to look at our interior listings first and try to sell them first, because the benefit is that you close the gap of communication and it's a much better process. Now, there's nothing you can say to get them to buy a house that they don't like, but if you have an opportunity to show an in-house listing, it's so much. How many of you ever co-broke with another co-broke from another company and it wasn't pleasant? Raise your hand, right? Because of the gap of communication that went on, right? So it's always better if you can sell something in-house. Selling more houses and fewer showings, right, gang? That's what we're here for. Based on the previous 6 nuggets that I gave you, would you agree that they could help you make more sales? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Here's another point I want to point out, and that is this. Most racers are lost, not in the first 3 quarters of the race, but in the last quarter of the race. Right? The final stretch. Now, you've come this far, right, gang? Here are the last 3 nuggets, and these 3 nuggets, they take a little fortitude. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Example, when the buyer throws out an objection. When a buyer throws out an objection. For you new people, they're not saying they don't want to buy it, okay? When they throw an objection, they're not saying they don't want to buy it. Here's a rule of thumb. The more they object, the more buying signals they're throwing at us. The more they object, the more buying signals they're throwing at us. For instance, a buyer walks in the house and they look at this wall and they say, that wall's going to have to come down if we're going to, because we'd want it to be open. Some agents give up and say, all right, well, that ends this house. Let's go look at the next one. And they put an X through house number 1 because they have to knock out that wall. Where the good agent would look at it and say, how much, Andre, how much do you think it would cost to do that? I mean, can you do that? I mean, is that a load-bearing wall? Or, I mean, what do you think? Would you have to put a beam in there?
$200-300.
Really? Wow, you're good. That's pretty good. So this could work for you then, maybe?
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. You see the difference, King? Right? Rule number 7. Our number 1 job is to look for blank blank, buying signals. Your number 1 job is not leading the way. Too many agents I see through, here's another, this used to crush me. I'd be working with my buyer, and the co-broke agent, the listing agent, would be at the property. It would drive me insane. I would always ask them to just leave us alone. Because here's what the listing agent thinks that they should be doing. They hand my buyer, now knowing what I know and knowing what you know, wouldn't it just kill you if you've done everything you could to keep all the information away from the buyer and take nothing with you on the showing, and you get to the property and the listing agent says, oh, here's a listing sheet right here, Ken, and what I'd like you to do, and they take you by the nose and they pull you over here and they say, okay, I want to show you this, and by the way, Ken, the taxes are, if you look right there, you can see and over here is and Ken's so busy being entertained by this realtor, and let me tell you about the school system, and Ken's just being polite going, I don't even have any kids, but all right, and the agent's going blah 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 blah, and you're sitting there like, come on already, and you're looking at your watch, because you got to get to the next house, and this agent's shutting up, and the bottom line is they walk out of the property thinking like, what the heck just happened? All they did was look at a piece of paper and a realtor and a bunch of information. They didn't get a chance to feel the house. So what you do is sometimes you have to take that listing agent aside and say, listen, these buyers are special buyers, and what I mean by that is that the way that they like to buy a house, and the odds of them actually buying your property is, listen, they already have all the information they need to make a decision to see this house. What I'd like to do is, how about you and I go outside while they're inside, and when they go inside, you and I go outside, and I bet that there's a greater chance that you're going to make a commission on this house if you and I do that, because I know these people. What do you think?
Good
The
idea.
listing agent says, the listing agent goes, okay. And they think, well, I have all this information. I said, listen, should they decide to buy the property or should they decide they're interested based on getting a chance to feel the house, I will definitely let you give the full-blown presentation and everything that they need to know about the property. But for right now, they just need to feel whether or not it's the right house for them. Okay. See, I as an agent, I spent a lot of my time coaching other agents. whether they had the listing property or whether I was a listing agent, I had to coach them through the process of getting out of the way so they wouldn't do what? Screw up the deal. So what I was trying to do is help them screw up fewer so we could both make more sales. You follow me?
What happens when it's your person,
Yes.
your buyer, and you're going around and that other person is there, the other realtor, and your buyer says to them, hey, by the way, what are the taxes on this house? Doesn't ask you, ask that other person.
Yeah, but there's nothing you can do.
You gotta go outside
You
the
gotta,
house.
you gotta let them answer it. I mean, here's what blows my mind, gang. Feel this, okay? This is a real pet peeve of mine. The listing agent asks who to leave prior to the showing.
The owner.
The owners. They ask the owner to leave the house. Why? So the buyers feel what?
More comfortable.
And then they show up.
Right.
And for all of you doing accompanied showings, I hope you go there, open the door, and get out of the way. Make yourself invisible.
I do have a question.
Now I got 2 salespeople here.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's
Does
horrible.
that happen often, John? 'Cause
Yes.
I don't remember when I was in the business before.
Yep.
That didn't happen to me.
But they do it more and more.
Yeah, really?
I've had
Even at an inspection, I was just
Yeah.
at an inspection, and the people said that they were so glad that the listing agent wasn't there this time, because at the last place they were at, the listing agent followed them all around during the inspection,
Yeah.
and they
Oh,
couldn't
my
even,
God.
It was
you know,
defending every
concentrate.
little flaw and
Yeah,
telling them why
yeah,
it's not a
yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
Look, just
Yeah.
leave us alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Louise.
If you have a listing and you are the listing agent, should you have a sheet with information on it there, or should you also not
You know
have
what?
anything?
You can have it in a book on the
Okay.
counter.
And maybe invite them to take it when they leave?
No,
No.
if they want it, it's
They'll
there. It's an
take- they'll
information
ask
book.
for
If
it.
they want to look at the information, they'll open the book and look at it. It's there.
So
if
put
they
it in
wanna
a
need
file that says information, just leave
A
it on the
3-ring
counter?
binder with clear sheet protectors so that it
Okay.
doesn't leave the house.
Okay.
It stays there.
Oh,
You know, here's
okay.
another thing. You guys are out printing forms out like crazy off these
Yeah.
color printers, all these MLS sheets with all the pictures, and people do take them off your listings, but they're just doing it as a courtesy. You know what they're doing? They're taking
Oh,
all of
yeah,
it and they're putting up all 5 on a table at their house, and they're going, this is the one and that was this one, because they're not using this system that I just shared with you.
Right.
Right? And
So-
you're wasting your time, energy,
so-
and effort, and money on all these beautiful brochures. People are taking them who aren't buying the house.
So if you're having an open house, what would you say to me? If I am having an open house on
Sure.
Sunday.
Yes.
Not this one, but the next one. Well,
Yep.
what'd you say to me to
It's
do?
about what?
About
What you
when
should have,
buyers
where to
come
bring.
in with agents.
When they come in, I say, hi, you know, my name is Louise, and I'm just here to keep the door open, and what I'd ask you to do is just sign in if you would, please. And there'll be a question there, you know, do you have an agent and all that other good stuff. Just sign in if you would, please. What you want to do is you want to sign in a name yourself, so that when they walk in, it looks like somebody already signed in before you, so that they're more apt to fill it in. I mean, here's what happens. If you've ever seen a list, right, like if a sign-up sheet, if the first 2 people just put their name in and don't fill out the phone number or the email, the other people
They
won't
don't
either.
do it either, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so put in the name, the phone, the address, the phone number, the email address, and all that.
Okay.
And
There
then say,
usually is some
and then-
information on the property at an open house.
Yes.
yes, but she's saying if she's doing an open house, right? And you know what? Keep the information on the kitchen counter if you need it. You're probably never going to need it, but you know what I'd take with? Bring some offer forms in case someone wants to buy the house. You know, take that. You know, make sure your agency disclosure placard is displayed
Yes, I have.
on the property. And then what I used to like to say to people at an open house is, listen, I'm just here to keep the door open for people to come in. If you would be so kind as to sign in. I always made a little joke. I always said, if you could sign in, that way the seller doesn't think I'm sitting here eating all their snacks and watching their TV. And they would laugh, and they kind of break the ice, break the tension a little bit, and then I would say to them, hey, listen, make yourselves at home. I'm just here to answer any questions. I'll stay out of your way. And then I walk away from them. You know, it's something interesting when you, and women are really good at this when they're dating, is that when you walk away, it makes the other person follow you. You know, you know. So it's like something that you don't have to worry about. Other agents follow them around, and they don't get a chance to feel for the house. They try to build rapport and be their friend and all that stuff. You know, before they leave, you have a series of questions that you learn in the Foundations for Success program. And if you don't have those, I can fax them to you, or we can get them for you. but things that you can't ask them at the open house. But let them feel the house first. Let them build a little rapport by letting them
Is
relax.
it appropriate to go sit out on the front porch and
Yeah.
wait?
Yeah, absolutely. And then tell them, say, hey, listen, when you're inside, I'm outside. When you're outside, I'll be inside. I'm only here to answer any questions that you have. But before they leave, you don't want to run and chase them out to the car. But just say to them, catch up with me before you take off so that I can get your feedback. I just want to be able to give it to the seller.
Good,
That's
thank
all.
you.
And then I just go like this. And I walk away. See, I'm doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing. The best way to compete is what? Don't compete. Okay, let's move on. Rule number 7, thank you. Our number one job is to look for buying signals. It's not leading the way. Because here's what agents do. They go like this. Let's pretend I'm an agent and a buyer's coming into the property, and this is the buyer, and I say, okay, come right this way. And I look in and I say, okay, here's the bathroom, dummy. And the buyer's thinking to themselves, I could tell it was the bathroom by that bowl on the floor and the shower. I kind of gave it away. But how many times have you been on a showing when the Cobra or the listing agent is saying, well, here's the bathroom, here's the living room. Yeah, when I saw the couch and the TV and the fireplace, I kind of figured that out. There was a living room. It's almost like, here's the kitchen, dummy. Here's the bathroom, stupid. This is a bedroom, you idiot. It's kind of like that's what we're saying to the buyer. We're leading them around the house saying all these things about the property. So, for example, buying signals are how soon can we move into this property? Sometimes they say, they'll knock the house. They'll complain about it. That's a buying signal. They wouldn't knock a property that they didn't care about. They just walk away and say, this one isn't for us. I've had people say, I don't like the color of those garage doors on that last house I saw, Sean. I don't like those color of the garage doors in that house at all. They like that house. Otherwise, they wouldn't care about the color of the garage doors, folks. Right? So I turn around, and what would I say to them?
No problem.
No
problem.
problem.
What color?
color would you like?
If you own the house, what color would you paint it?
Right.
Yep.
How much do you think that would cost? Oh, is that doable? Oh, okay. Then I just shut up and keep, walking. And kind of take it away. Number 8, second to last one. We got
Number 7, sometimes they blank and it's a blank.
Oh, they knock a property and it's a buying signal.
Yeah, sometimes they knock a property and it's a buying signal. Number 8, ignore objections. What are you talking about, John? Ignore objections. Yes. Some people say, boy, this room is small. Here's what I want you to do. Just ignore it. Because there is nothing you are ever going to say that is going to make that room bigger. They walk in, Carol, and they say, boy, this house is a dump. And Carol goes, there's nothing Carol is going to say to make that house cleaner. Right? Ignore it. That's another way of handling an objection.
So just whistle, right?
Yeah, just.
You don't have
And
to
by the
sell
way,
it.
if it is, here's what else helps also. If you just go and you walk away. I mean, really ignore it. Here's what the low-producing agent does. Well, what do you mean it's a small bedroom? Don't you think you and your wife, don't you think it's about time that you get bunk beds and you can share and put them against the wall and you can put it over here and they have them on sale, Bob's Furniture. They're only $200 for bunk beds. You get a matching nightstand and everything else. Well, we can fit it right over here in the corner. I know it'll block the window, but you don't need a window in the house anyways. Do you need that window in the bedroom? You couldn't need, unless it was a fire, you could open the window and jump out the window. But we could do that. You could just move the bunk beds over to the side. This is what the average agent is doing. They're trying to sell the property. Listen, there's nothing you can do about it. Ignore it. Sometimes it'll just go away, or they'll figure it out themselves, or the wife will come up with an objection and the husband will handle it. The husband will come up with an objection and the wife will handle it, and then they go, oh yeah, that's right, and they'll agree on it, right? Just like they always agree on everything, right? Oh, no? All right, okay, great.
But they're communicating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, yes, Sean.
So is it best, like when you're showing a house and you walk in to, were you saying just to let them look around or lead them into a room or follow them into a room? Like the bedroom, you're going to see the master bedroom. Would you lead them to the master bedroom?
I wouldn't be anywhere
So
near
don't show them this is the master bedroom. You want to maybe follow them to see their...
If I'm going to follow them, I'm going to be far behind them. If they're upstairs, I want to be downstairs. If they're downstairs, I want to be upstairs. But I want to be, now follow this, gang. Now follow this. I want to be within an earshot of them. I want to be able to hear them, but I don't want them to be able to see me. You follow me? Because I want to listen for what? Buying
Buying
signals,
signals,
yeah.
right? But I don't want them to see me. I want them to be comfortable. Almost like spying on them, if you will, right? In fact, hook a little bug onto their lapel. You can hear everything they're saying in your ear, and you just sit in the car. That would be the best thing, all right? And then when they get back in the car, and you can say to them, so what did you think, right? That'd be great. They can tell you, they can sell you the house, right? Women are better salespeople than men all day long. Let's have a round of applause for women
not here.
salespeople. Come on, let's hear it.
What are the rules? Where's that?
Hey, listen, this is something I'm saying. It's not in your handouts. Now, look at me for a second. Women are better salespeople than men. Let's have a round of applause for women salespeople. You ready? Right? John, what do you mean by that? Well, I'll tell you what I mean. Women do things that are different than men because men have these big egos in general, right? And what the man will do is their ego gets in the way of them selling houses. Because let me give you an example like that. How many houses that you sell in Massachusetts in this market area have basements? How many of them? Almost all of them. And how many of those basements have little hairline cracks in them, even little small ones, right? And how many buyers find those cracks? All of them, right? And what do they think? Oh, a flood! You know, the buyer makes a big deal out of it. But here's what the male ego real estate agent salesperson says. Oh, that's no problem. You just dig down, tar up, fill up the hole, no big deal, right?
Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah. But here's why women are better salespeople than men, and I say this with tremendous respect. You ready for this? Same buyer walks in, sees the crack. Oh my God, flooding whatsoever. You know, oh my God, this flood is going to come in. Here's what the smart woman salesperson says. She looks at the buyers and says, oh, is it fixable? And the male ego customer says, oh yeah, no problem. You just dig it down, tar it up, fill up the crack, and fill up the hole. No problem, right? And so, you know, it's better to not have to deal with those objections, not handle them. Just ignore them, okay? So, ignore what? Ignore objections. Next item, when you get signals, close for the what? Sit down.
Sit down, sit down.
Close for the sit down. Here's a rule of thumb. Always ask for a decision when they are sitting down. Always ask for a decision when they are sitting down. Here's a great closing question. You know, when you're closing for a listing, you say any questions, right? Here's what you do for a buyer. Do you like the home? Yeah, let's go sit down. And here's what you do. You take your keys and you walk to the car. You just go to the car. And here's what happens. They follow you and you drive to the office. And you walk up the stairs.
Now, do
You
you
don't-
have these people in the car with you?
Yeah, they're with you in the car.
Okay.
Let's go sit down. Maybe you go sit down, you know, right at the offer. Here's the deal. When buyers go to buyer training school, they learn this technique called the parking lot bailout technique. So you go to real estate training school, they go to buyer training school, and they learn this. Here's what they do. How many of you ever had a buyer that looks at their watch and says, oh, it's getting
Yeah.
kind of late. I have to go home and iron my bowling shirt. Yeah, I got to go, right? And you're like, okay, well, so what do you say? Well, there are 3 different things that I can share with you. How many, gang?
3.
Three.
Magic in 3s. There it is again. They say, look at the time. We have to go home. And you say what?
No
No
problem.
problem. Let's go in for a couple of minutes and let me give you some answers to your questions. And then you can take off. And that works most of the time. See, a pro gets them to do what?
Sit down.
Sit down, right? Sometimes they'll say, well, sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes they'll say, well, you know, we need to think about it. And so then you say, in other words, you like the home enough to think about it, right? Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go in for a couple of minutes? I'll prepare everything as if you did. Decide yes, as if you did. This is called the as if you did closing technique. You can take all that information with you, and you can make your decision while having all the facts. So what I do is I write up the whole offer. I'm going to give you the paperwork. I'm not going to present it or take it or anything. You don't have to write me a check. And I want you to go home and you put this offer under your pillow and sleep on it. And wake up the next morning and see how you feel. And if you feel like you still want the house after you've written up the offer, then drop the offer off at my office. If you wake up the next morning and you feel like, geez, that was a mistake, tear it up and throw it away. That's all. How's that sound? Because that's the best way. As if you did, that's probably the best way to know how you're going to feel about it. Let's go. And then I start walking into the office, and they start following me. Sometimes a pro gets them to do what, gang? What?
Sit down.
Sit down, yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't work. And they say, well, we're not really sure. And here's the last technique, and it's the most powerful one. I love this. If I could get you this house today for blank less, say $10,000, $5,000, give me a number.
$5,000.
All right, great. Today, and I'm not saying I could, but if I could, would you buy it today? And they go, well, yeah, I would. Oh, great, let's go sit down. And I write up the offer, and I take that off the asking price, and I put it in the offer form, and I write up the offer. I submit it, we negotiate, they buy the house. Right, gang? It gets them moving in the right direction. A pro gets them to do what?
Sit down.
Sit down. Rule number 10, ask them to buy every house. Was this a fun-filled, action-packed workshop or what?
Action-packed.
Wow. I'm really excited about the next session that's coming up. It's preparing to present the offer. Huge, talk about winning and losing races in the last quarter of the race. You've got to the point where you're actually wrote up the offer now. Remember, I showed you how to get the appointment with the buyer. I showed you how to get the buyer to work with you exclusively and how to pick out only 3 to 5 homes, right? And I showed you how to get the buyer back into the office. And now it's time to write up the offer. But you have to prepare to present that offer. And if you're not presenting it to the seller, you at least have to present it to the co-broker. And I am a huge fan of presenting it directly to the seller if you can. But I like what I wrote here. It says, most races are won or lost in the last quarter mile. Similarly, most real estate commissions are won or lost when it comes to preparing to present the offer. You're going to like this session because on this day you will learn how to get an offer accepted versus postponed or countered. And when an offer is postponed or countered, that is, in Massachusetts law, that is a rejection of the offer. So too many of us are writing up offers and the offers are getting rejected instead of getting accepted. I'm going to show you how to do that. The only way to learn, and how many keys are there?
6.
Which is 2 times what? 3. All right, 2 times 3 is 6. To getting an offer accepted is to show up. And then I'm going to share with you Floyd Wickman's, what he calls his best offer first 4-step track, and that kind of speaks for itself. If you can get the best offer first up front, your odds are drastically increased of getting that offer accepted if you can get the best offer out of the buyer first. I'm going to share with you some techniques on how to get that offer done. So that's next Friday at 10 a.m. Please don't miss it. You've been a phenomenal audience. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you so much. Let's go sell some houses, right?
Yeah.
Or they're going to sell themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, bring the guy over tomorrow, and I already printed out these things. I got an email yesterday.
Hey, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's like
I was really
a
going to
crutch.
give him these, I know.
Ooh,
But try it.
good.
Right.
That's what I always tell people. Try it.
I have a
The
question.
new people, I don't have a problem with. They're like, okay, they just do it.
Yeah.
But, if you're used to doing it so
Yeah,
so
showing them and like the
much.
picture.
I'll be in the
Yep.
kitchen.
Excuse me, I'm just going to shut the camera.
Wow.